Have we had both rounds of sirens? Here it comes. Thank you. Okay, good afternoon, everyone. Let's go ahead and call this meeting to order. Feel free to unmute yourself and please join me in the pledge. I pledge allegiance to the flag of the United States of America and to the republic for which it stands, one nation, under God, indivisible, with liberty and justice for all. Thank you. Fiscal Officer, please call the roll.
All right. Trustee Sear, Trustee Jessberger, Trustee Sword.
Here.
Here.
Township Administrator.
Here.
Chief of Fire.
Here.
Chief of Police.
Here.
Superintendent of Public Works.
Here.
Our next meeting is April 7th, 2021 at 12 p.m. And I'd like to make a motion to accept the agenda with flexibility.
I'll second.
All right. Trustee Sword, Trustee Jessberger, Trustee Sear.
Yes.
Yes. I'd like to make a motion to accept the March.
I'll second.
Okay. Trustee Sword, Trustee Jessberger, Trustee Sear.
Yes.
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 Okay, and the fiscal report?
Okay. I'm sorry, I realize I have the year-to-date sent. Let me pull up just the February numbers and not start with the starting balance on January 1st. Feb. Hmm. Okay, there we go. February 1st starting balance, $6,482,216.12. Revenue for the month of February was $282,947.07. Expenditures in the month of February was $307,272.42, leaving us with an overall fund balance on February 28th of $6,457,890.77.
I move we accept the fiscal report for February 2021.
I'll second.
All right, Trustee Sword, Trustee Jessberger, Trustee Sear.
Yes.
Yes. Okay, any discussion about appropriations?
Just going to have a goal to not amend them as much this year. And I may go back and hyperlink some of the old meeting minutes because we should be providing more details when we amend appropriations in the meeting minutes as far as what changed. So, but no major comments about perms for this year.
I think we might be ready for the roll then. I'll make a motion to accept the 2021 permanent appropriations.
I'll second.
All right. Trustee Sword, Trustee Jessberger, Trustee Sierra.
Yes.
Yeah. So number 8, the Tree City update, just want to keep the board apprised on the way through. We were learning more about the application process. We had a meeting set up with a forester from the state to sort of help answer some general questions. She has canceled and we've rescheduled that one for next week. But we do know that in order to participate, one of the requirements for the program is that we would appropriate $2 per capita per resident in the township as a commitment to our tree program. And that would include tree plantings, tree maintenance, and so today I just wanted to sort of take the temperature of the board about whether or not that sounds feasible to you, and if it's something we should continue to pursue or not, since it's one of the fundamental requirements of the application. I'm not asking to actually make the appropriation today, but rather just see if this is something that we might want to continue finding more out about. We will have to pass some resolutions creating a tree board. Looks like that'll just be sort of the public works superintendent and maybe the sustainability team working on bringing recommendations to the board. So a couple of hoops to jump through with resolutions, but mostly this one is probably the biggest one in terms of just overall philosophy I wanted to hear from you guys about.
So it's $2 obviously go to whatever trees or tree work. Is there any kind of discretion on who, what, when, where, why, and how and that money gets spent?
Yeah, I think it's all up to us. One of the things that I want to do in our first meeting with the forester is just sort of get some of these basic questions answered about the application, but then just take a drive a little bit and show her, a few roads and how we've got many candidates for a tree planting program if we want to do street trees. She has sent me already lists of trees gauged by size and appropriateness for various sites. So we would have internally the discretion about how to spend that money in terms of just, coming up with a plan. I would imagine sustainability would just sort of come up with a plan and a recommendation for you all and see if that's something that we want to do. But yes, we can use the funds for buying the trees, planting the trees, maintaining the trees.
Okay. That sounds good to me.
Trustee Jessberger, thank you. Okay, I will hopefully bring something to you a little more formally in another meeting or two. Thank you for that. What other team reports or committee reports would we like to talk about today?
So I've got a few things. I'm going to use a little bit of flexibility first. I wanted to talk about, since spring is approaching very quickly, getting some raised beds for the Case Road Community Garden for this year. I would really like to check the temperature with the other board members to see how they feel about that, and maybe move forward with some discussions with Superintendent Flegg on what he would recommend for placement so that our public works crew can get in and mow easily, hopefully cut down on any headache for them for their mower size, trimming, etc. I'm thinking probably 8 raised beds to start with. That seems to be the typical number on a non-COVID year of active gardeners that we have down there. We can always tilt more beds in if we do exceed that number this year. So I'm just thinking lumber, built, raised beds, maybe 4-foot by 8-foot rectangles times 8 with some fill dirt as well. And I can gather some prices for topsoil, garden soil, and lumber for a later date.
I think it's a great idea. I'm not familiar with gardening. I usually end up killing whatever I plant. So I'm not sure exactly when all that would need to be done, but I think it sounds great and a good learning opportunity for myself.
Awesome. Well, come on out. We'll teach you how to grow some tomatoes.
So my only question was going to be, what's our typical number of gardeners and how many do we need? So I think you covered that. You know, if we have that kind of interest in the garden, I'm all about supporting it. What, I'm trying to remember when we did this on the west side, kind of how we went about it financially. Deb, can you, I mean, do we, if it's just going to be under $2,500, or is that an issue, or do we need to actually approve a number here, or an up to number, or anything?
We have the line item that Parks is charged to. From what I would recall on the Chamber's Circle effort, there was a lot of interest for volunteers assembling stuff, and then there was kind of a bottleneck of communication with the volunteers, and there was a holdup there. But as far as approving expenses, yeah, as long as everything stays under, any one purchase stays under 2,500, which I don't hear like anything getting close to that. You know, you don't need board approval to say, I approve a purchase order for 8 raised garden beds, because it's probably going to be a few $100 at most.
Sounds like a go to me, Alina.
All right, perfect. I'll swing by and speak with you, Corey, whenever we can correlate. I'll give you a call a little bit later. Thank you. Also, our free produce market was a success once again. I think we served 132 families. We were a little bit nervous because we only got about just a little over 4,000 pounds of food. Is that correct, Chief Fraley? But it was individually wrapped, and we were able to disperse it, and we got a ton of people served, more than I thought we did. We opened up 2 lines in the back instead of the single line. So we had 2 bays open, and that seemed to funnel everybody through very quickly. I think that's why the number surprised me at the end of the night, because we were so swift, twice as fast. We did have the React team out. Did we have any numbers from them of how many naloxone kits they distributed?
I didn't get them before they took off, so I'll get that through an email here soon.
Excellent. And our new flyer should be coming out soon for future dates. So watch for that. As of right now, through the end of this month is currently listed on the township Facebook page and the fire department's Facebook page. Be sure that you hit the interested button on either one of those event links, and you'll get a reminder. And then we'll be updating that as well. Anything I missed?
I don't think so. We still need to advertise for some residents that would like to be part of the community health action team. I know we've had some in the past, and the numbers have kind of waned a little bit. So I just want to put it out there that if we have any residents that are interested in that, please reach out to Trustee Sword or myself, and we can get you set up with the meeting links to take part.
Absolutely. Send your email. Obviously, we'll add you to that meeting link. As I also want to mention, we're always looking for volunteers. So if you're looking for a volunteer opportunity, we will provide you with PPE. You can come on out anytime after 3 o'clock on the Friday of our produce market and jump in and have some fun.
Can I ask you a question about the opportunity to serve on the chat? What sort of, it always helps me make those kinds of decisions when I know, what sort of time commitment would I be signing up for if I were interested, you know, just for the sake of those out there who might be considering that?
So we hold one meeting a month, the first Thursday of every month at 5 p.m. currently. That is virtual due to COVID. hopefully at some point in time, we'll be able to move that back to an in-person meeting. And that has typically been held here at 3820 Cleveland Avenue in the community room. And those meetings typically take an hour at most. So.
Okay, great. Thanks.
And I think you were alluding to 2 volunteer opportunities that folks can show up to help pass out food, or an ongoing thing with the chat. I'm gonna guess, can high school students help with passing out the food?
Yes, and it does count as volunteer hours.
Okay. Anything else from your end, Trustee Sword?
That's it. Thank you.
I was gonna just let you know that we are working on Earth Day ideas, and sustainability is going to meet again sort of next week. We meet in the off weeks between our public meetings, so we'll know more shortly. But we're looking at, once again, reducing distance and those kinds of things. Probably not a litter sweep, and getting a lot of people together, but rather maybe some drive-through opportunities with the ability to recycle various goods. So hopefully we're going to know more at the next meeting. But we're on it.
I have one quick thing for the community engagement that I'm overseeing. I briefly had a conversation with Chief Rayleigh, and he was telling me about some ideas that he had and that Chief Jones had. And Chief Rayleigh was hoping that we could potentially schedule a date in the fall for an event. I mean, if things don't get better with COVID, obviously we could either cancel it or just push it back. But I think that it would be best, and I agree with him, that if we have a date, it's something that we can start planning and looking forward to, and then getting out the information for our community on when and where it is.
Sounds great to me.
Fingers crossed we get to do something in the fall.
Yeah, pick one. Sounds good.
Absolutely.
Guys, I also wanted to use this opportunity to talk to you again about my ongoing saga with wellness credits. So last year, when the pandemic first began and we started doing telehealth visits, I talked to you a little bit about, in a telehealth visit, you don't get your blood pressure taken necessarily, and we talked about that with the insurance committee. And my understanding then was that we were going to try then to just award people all the points for their biometric screenings if they had a telehealth appointment. That seemed fair. And when I let the year kind of switch over this year, and I just thought, hey, let me just check my dashboard and see where my wellness is. And I couldn't see last year, so I can only see starting to add the stuff to work on this cycle. So I asked what my points were, and I was told a very low number that did not represent the kinds of documentation I've provided through their website by uploading the various things you have to do. And so when I talked to Michelle Crockett today, and I told her, that I had uploaded this, and I had uploaded that, and they didn't have a record of any of that. I'm very concerned about the fact that we're going to find people who don't check their dashboard, who don't call Michelle and say, what were my points last year? That we've got a real kind of documentation issue on the part of the wellness people. So, at that point, I'm like, okay, what do we do here? Do we audit, everybody's wellness, And so she told me that some townships have just asked them to award everybody's 2020 points as exactly what they had in 2019. And then allow for individual adjustments such that if we had somebody who came to us and said, hey, look, I know I was smoking in 2019, but in 2020, I want to file my affidavit for not being a smoker anymore. That individual adjustments could still be made, but that it seems like the fairest thing, given that you couldn't do a lot of stuff. And apparently there's this documentation issue, that a choice we could would be to direct them to do this for us and say that everybody's 2020 is exactly what they got in 2019. Let us know if there's an individual kind of concern about that. And it just will, sort of erase this problem of apparently some crazy stuff that went on with uploading documents and them actually crediting people with what they submitted.
Okay, so I'm all for that. And if anybody has any changes from then to now, then we just need to have everybody check with their staff to make sure nothing major has changed, you know, individually, and then go forward. Do we need to pass a motion to do that, or we just need to call Michelle and say, honor it?
Yeah, she thought it would be quite an easy fix. They've already done it. It's our program to you know, design the way we want. I was very curious if any department heads or anyone else had, you know, any scenarios in mind where this isn't such a good idea because of thus and such, or if it's, you know.
We don't have a ton of new staff, but there is going to be people that we have now that we didn't have in 2020.
Yeah, they just get their first year's wellness, isn't that correct? Yeah, because if you're new this year, you're actually working on next year's wellness, so this year's wellness just gets credited to you.
So if I understand with what you're saying, Jane, so I did some of the wellness checklist. I've watched some of these videos to try to get points, and they haven't been counting that. Is that what I'm hearing?
I'm saying that in my personal case, because I couldn't look at anybody else's information, obviously. In my personal case, they did not have my anti-smoking tobacco affidavit. They only had one that's like the sort of the health check thing you go through and check a bunch of boxes, the survey.
Right.
They had that. They did not have evidence of my telehealth doctor's visit that I provided and uploaded. So it was just a spotty mix of, we got some things and we've got other, we don't have others. I don't know what is happening township wide. I don't have a way to know that. But my worry is we work with a bunch of fairly fit, fairly young people in the pool who probably aren't like me, worried about their little wellness credits, and they're probably not checking their dashboard. And then someone who has something happen or needs a major surgery or whatever and finds themselves in that gap and saying, hey, you know, what happened to my wellness credits? So I'd rather just be proactive and solve the problem, you know. And I think as long as we're open, you know, as supervisors, if somebody comes and says, hey, you know, man, I didn't do anything in 2019, but I did a bunch of stuff in 2020. I mean, I think if we're willing to just make some individual adjustments when it's warranted, that it will solve a problem in a really blanket way, and in just a fair way. I mean, 2020 was not fair, let's face it, right?
No.
So if you guys think that that's a good idea, and I'm not seeing any red flags come up from departments, I can just call her and tell her.
Yeah, I would go ahead. I'd be fine with going ahead and doing that. And then just have all of your staff just think it over and make sure that there's no major changes that need to be individually adjusted.
Moving forward, we may want to just, I don't know if we're going to consider if we're doing the same thing for this cycle or not. I imagine people are still having telehealth visits. I know a couple of doctors who aren't doing anything but yet. So I don't know if we still want to do the biometric piece of that this year again and just give people credit for this next cycle if they do a telehealth visit. But that might just be kind of a future consideration. So maybe the insurance committee can have a conversation. But okay, thanks. I'll give Michelle a call and tell her we'd like to try that. Mr. Huffman.
A branding update. A while back, we engaged Murphy Epson to do a rebranding process for the township. Through that process, they've had the opportunity to have discussions with residents, business owners, elected officials, other stakeholders, as well as staff. Through those interviews, have come up with some key findings. And based off those key findings, they have kind of developed some conceptual logos for the township, including conceptual fonts and color schemes. We did have a meeting with Murphy Epson last week, I believe it was, with the staff, department heads, kind of going over their conceptual ideas, provided some input on that. They have since come back with some additional updates in regards to that. But overall, here's our basic key findings is that everyone basically does kind of agree that the logo is dated and does not represent the township where we are today or where we want to be in the future. Township excels at customer service for residents and businesses. Customer service looks different based on the department providing it, but overall residents, businesses, and officials were extremely positive. In snow removal, road maintenance, police and fire presence and response, and going above and beyond. The township and elected officials are seen as approachable, friendly, welcoming, and neighborly. The township is positively perceived as a small town inside the big city and a large amount of community pride. Other positive attributes that came up from conversations include progressive, sustainable, both eco-friendly and green, inclusive, diverse, centrally located, and multi-generational. So kind of taking all that information and trying to narrow it down into a conceptual design can be kind of difficult and challenging. Murphy Epson has stepped up and has provided some ideas for us that we are still kind of working through. I think color-wise and font styles, we maybe have that narrowed down. It's just kind of coming up with the actual logo itself and what that might look like. So more to come. I think once we do some more narrowing down, we might actually start getting some conceptual logos with the colors and the fonts that we can put out there for comments. So I thank everyone who participated, including staff members who've been spending some time with the meetings and everything and trying to come up with how we're going to look going forward. And that's all I have.
Anything else? Okay. Chief Fraley.
Good afternoon. We have one item. We'd like to request a PO in the amount of $5,560 payable to PinCare. This is for a 600-watt solar battery charging system and a no idle system to be added to the new medic that will be delivered later this year from Fund 2281-230-430.
So moved.
I'll second.
Trustee Sword, Trustee Jessberger, Trustee Sierra.
Yes.
Yes. Anything else, Chief?
That's all we have. Thank you.
More greening of Clinton Township. Thank you. Chief Jones?
Good afternoon. First item I have is to announce that Officer Jeff McCoy will be retiring effective March 23rd, 2021. Jeff was hired in 1995 and served 26 years for Clinton Township.
Chief, do you, would you like a gun and badge resolution now or later?
Yeah, I guess we should do that now.
Okay.
So I'd like to request resolution for the bargaining agreement we have with the FOP for $1, offering Officer McCoy his duty weapon and badge for $1.
So moved.
I'll second.
And our thanks to Officer McCoy.
Absolutely.
Trustee Sword, Jessberger, Sierra.
Yes.
Yes.
Next, I have a request for purchase order for Strategic Sourcing, Inc. This is for new MDT units and mounting equipment for the new vehicles in an amount of $7,548. That'll be from Fund 2081-210-420.
So moved.
I'll second.
Trustee Sword, Trustee Jessberger, Trustee Sierra.
Yes.
Yes.
Next, I'd like to request a resolution to adopt and approve an MOU with the Fraternal Order of Police for the ability to laterally hire police officers from outside agencies and authorizing Trustee Sarah to sign on behalf of the board.
So moved.
I'll second.
Trustee Sword, Trustee Jesberger, Trustee Sierra.
Yes.
Yes.
Yes. Anything else, Chief?
No, that's all I have today. Thank you.
Thank you. Superintendent Flake.
Voltage is insufficient. Please charge.
Good afternoon. I have two items. First, I would like to request a purchase order in the amount of $2,681.50 payable to the Franklin County Engineers Office for road salt purchased on 2/12 and 2/17 to be paid from Fund 2031-330-400.
So moved.
I'll second.
Trustee Jesberger, Trustee Sierra, Trustee Sword.
Yeah.
And your other item?
My second item is I would just like to announce that we will begin brush pickup on April 5th.
Getting close.
Everyone's always happy to hear that.
It means it's going to be warm.
Okay, thank you, sir. Is that it for you?
Yes, that is all I have.
Okay, we are down to appreciations.
I have
I just-
one.
Go
Sorry.
for it. You're okay.
Like a week and a half ago, I became ill late one evening, and I was super hesitant to call 911 as always because I have a lot of anxiety. But I eventually called, and 3 of our amazing fire came, and they were just really good with me, and they were really good about calming my nerves, and they're just very professional, and I'm really excited that I have the ability to work with such amazing people.
I also have an appreciation, and it kind of goes out to everybody. All staff. 2020 was crazy, and I feel like we're all so distant. Just know that we're all a phone call away from one another. So if you need anything, don't hesitate to reach out. Don't think you're going to bother anybody. And I appreciate all of the effort that everybody put into getting through the mud as we trudge forward. But there is light at the end of the tunnel, so we'll get there. Just know that you've got a huge support system behind you.
Well
That's
said,
it.
thanks. Anything else for appreciations? Okay, other items?
Is this where you want to do the questions from the
It
audience
is,
or?
yes.
Okay, I'm sorry. I was thinking maybe that'd be after the point. Bobby Olt did send an email inquiring about live meetings, when that might occur, and why they're not occurring now.
Well, for my part, although a lot of members of the community seem to be accessing vaccinations, that's not true in a comprehensive way yet. We probably have a lot of seniors who've been able to access vaccines, and I don't think a single person on the board has yet, to my knowledge. Many of our employees are not yet vaccinated. So I would say, unless the law is changed, that our first meeting is going to be July 7th in face-to-face, because currently video conferencing is permitted until July 1st. At that point, the board may want to consider the fact of where we want to do that to provide the maximum amount of space. I'm personally kind of concerned that we can't even sit department heads 6 feet away from each other in our current configuration at 999. And that it would have to be an extremely small, limited audience, even if we were to separate ourselves that much in that room. So I'm going to recommend that when we go back face to face, that we stay on this side of town for a while until we can monitor the situation with social distance recommendations. Did anybody else?
I agree with that as well. And something else we're going to have to look into is deconning the room after all is said and done. So that's something else to keep on the back burner of everybody's mind there as well. Wiping down chairs, the whole nine.
Mr. Huffman, anything else in your inbox?
I have no other questions. Comments.
Okay. And with that, I think we are ready for a motion to adjourn.
I'll
Which I
second.
would make. Thank you.
Are we sticking around?
Chief, I'm gonna drop off that MOU here directly in a little while.
Happy St. Patrick's Day, everybody.
All right.
Are we all sticking around for a second for the screenshot?
I forgot. Yes, we were, but we can kill the YouTube feed for that. Oh, maybe not. I don't know.